I'm James Swanwick. This is the Alcohol Free Lifestyle Podcast, where you learn to live a life of health, wealth, love, and happiness. Welcome to the show. I am James Swanwick. You're doing great with your alcohol. You know, it's like a few drinks here and there are fine. It's not really causing any problems. Oh, but it's the holidays, but it's Thanksgiving, but it's our anniversary. Go on, just have one. Go on, just have a couple two. Just have 3 or 4. We've got to celebrate, and on and on and on and on it goes. And other lies that alcohol has told you. Today, we are talking to the author of a book that's called You're Doing Great, and Other Lies Alcohol Told Me. His name is Dustin Dunbar. He's 52 years old. He's from San Diego, California, but like me, he likes to live around the world. And today we're going to be debunking the myth that alcohol washes away the pain. We're going to be exposing the practices used by advertisers and marketers to entrap us to drink. We'll be questioning this notion that AA is the only option for battling alcohol addiction. And we'll be showing you how to enjoy an alcohol-free consciousness and an exciting new chapter in your life. The author of You're Doing Great and Other Lies Alcohol Told Me, Dustin Dunbar, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me on. I love being here. It's funny, I'm fully retired. I retired about 2-3 years ago. And guys are always like, let's go surfing, let's go out to the golf course, all this stuff. And I'm like, man, I got this awesome interview to do. And there's nowhere else I'd rather be. So thank you for having me on.
You're welcome. Great to have you here. So what's your story around alcohol? Maybe just give us a little bit of context around it before we get into some of those talking points.
Yeah, so family, growing up in Oklahoma, I know you grew up in Australia, where you got to be a man to drink, and this whole thing of handling your alcohol and whiskey and tons of beer, and it's just part of the culture. And so that's where I grew up, in the Midwest. And so hunting, fishing, and here you go, son and grandpas, and they just all had it. Moonshine back in the Oklahoma land rush days. I mean, we're talking about generational type chains that I have been dealing with breaking and have broken. And it has been challenging at the beginning, and then just pure joy is what came later. So yeah, it's been it's not just me, it's a consciousness that goes back, a collective consciousness that goes way back. And I'm talking not just my little family of, grandparents, but we're talking thousands of years of humanity having only a liquid substance, ethanol, which is the same as alcohol, 2 different names for the same thing, to temporarily kill pain, numb our bodies. And it's just been used in all kinds of ceremonies, medicine men, shamans, religious people, all kinds, for thousands of years. And so to wake up out of this collective unconscious collective illusion that alcohol benefits me in any way, what happened to me about 4 years ago. And ever since then, I was able to really delve into some past, childhood trauma issues, and realize that I was numbing those issues down with ethanol. And I didn't know I was doing that. I thought I was, like social, just a couple of glasses of wine a night, drinking my expensive Camus, being cool in front of the ladies. And, and it was just social, what everybody now considers responsible social type drinking for a man. So I'd have a couple at night on the weekdays, and then probably 4 or 5, even 6 on the weekends, depending on what's going on. If I'm going to like a football game, then it starts early, drinking all day, all evening, because that's what the boys do. And yeah, so that's a very really quick view of it. But basically, it was a massive consciousness change. And whenever anybody comes to me and I'm talking to them about it, you'll hear me talk about consciousness is everything. Until the consciousness is changed, then there's no cure. But there is for sure a cure for alcohol addiction. And I've experienced it. Many people have experienced it. And it's now a revolution that is happening to become alcohol free. And so what I am out there doing now, and this is all fun for me. I'm retired. This isn't about money at all. All my proceeds to the book sales are going to the Alcohol Free Revolution, to charity, to help those battling against alcohol addiction. So I'm just here to have some fun and help people and talk to people like you.
You mentioned 4 years ago something significant happened. Tell us a little bit about that.
So yeah, it was one of those deals where it was leading up. I started drinking, 16, 17, and insecure, like most people, just wanting to fit in, high school, trying to be in the in crowd, stuff like that. And I was a slow drip addict where I wasn't addicted, or nowhere close ever to reaching under the sink to get a plastic bottle of vodka. Nothing ever like that. I was a very high functioning, even at the end, a high functioning addict. And so I became addicted very slowly. My brother, he got addicted. He's only 2 years older than me. He was one of those where their first drink, they're like, boom, it hit the brain cortex and did everything for him at that time to basically numb his, stuff. And so he was just right away. I took a long time, and 4 years ago was basically when my wife at the time said that's it. I got to the point where I think, what age did you stop drinking?
35.
35. And you're what, 48 now? Something like
48.
that? Okay. So I wish, and people out there, guys, girls, everybody, if you can stop earlier, do that, because that's where if I would have stopped, I would have had my little social stuff, everything would have been fine. Okay. It's still, I wish I would have never drank. Let's put it that way. We're putting ethanol, we're putting toxic, we're putting poison in our body. It causes cancer, it causes 200 other types of diseases. So just, it's not necessary at all anymore whatsoever. So we have other kinds of pain pills and killers whenever things happen to us that are really physically bad, that we need surgery and things like that. So I really wish that, like I know that you were like a social drinker and you never got any like DUIs and things like that, jail stuff. So what happened to me was I continued on past 35 and I stopped drinking at age 48. Well, that's what happens with addiction and the slow drip process of an addictive substance is once you drink enough of it, and nobody can handle their alcohol. That is just a myth, a complete myth. I don't care if you're the biggest, roughest, toughest New Zealand rugby player ever, you ain't handling your alcohol. It is a 100% addictive substance, and you will get addicted once enough is consumed. Certain people get addicted quicker based on their past consciousness, everything. There's so much that goes involved into who gets addicted when and how and all this stuff and how much, and everybody's individually different. For me, it took I was still living this high functioning life, like I was saying, and rolling around the world. I was living around the world a year at a time, internet business and doing all this stuff. And so I just kept drinking. I'm like, oh, I'm doing fine. I got great kids. I got a great wife. Everything's great, right? And alcohol kept lying to me. And then what I consider kind of my bottom or whatever is a trip to Canada 4 years ago. I went 30 days without drinking. So I was already studying a lot of it. And I was like, man, I don't need this anymore. But my wife and friends wanted to do a whiskey trip, a whiskey tasting trip to Vancouver, Canada. Super high end. I'm talking about, we're riding around a new Tesla. I mean, the whole thing. And we're doing this whiskey stuff. Well, I literally get to a point where I'm like blacking out. Now that I recall it, and I was hitting on other women in front of my wife, and I was just being so disrespectful. And I'm just like, man, it's terrible. Well, she at that point, that was it. That was her breaking limit, and she said, "That's it. We're done." And I knew she meant it, and I was like, "Whoa, I really gotta change up because this has gotten way out of hand. I'm like out of control." And so yeah, so that was my 4 year ago event.
Got it. So you actually had a rock bottom event that inspired this longer term change, as opposed to yeah, I'm just gonna like improve my health a little bit here and give this an experiment. It was for you, it was kind of like the dead cat bounces. It's kind of like, whoa, I've hit rock bottom, and but then since then it's just been like I'm flying. Is that how it's felt?
Yeah, so I wouldn't say after that. Once I stopped drinking, here's a warning to a lot of people. So 70% of heavy drinkers drink a lot because start drinking because they're masking pain from, mostly childhood. So the other 30% are doing it socially and just like they had a good childhood and they get addicted, later just because of the addictive substance. So for me, once that, I guess you'd call it rock bottom, it was a gradual, like doing stupid stuff in Vegas. I mean, flying around the world and partying and just out of control is where it got to. And so it was a leading up. And I did not like the feeling. I didn't like the hangovers. I didn't like everything I started studying. Once I researched alcohol, I'm like, what is this stuff? And why in God's name? I'm just banging my head. Why did I ever fall into the brainwashing and the unconsciousness of this whole thing that we have going on in society, that it benefits us and makes us happier and more fun and all this stuff? I'm just like shaking my head. That's now. So, but then, yeah, it was like that I guess you'd call it a bounce. But it wasn't once I bounced, I actually went hard down into some depression, some anxiety came up because what happened was I was masking that trauma from my father abandoning me whenever I was, 4 years old. He became super addicted to alcohol and abused my mother in front of us and my siblings. And I had major abandonment fear that was deep inside of me that I didn't know that I had because I was masking that and numbing that down with alcohol for my whole adult life. So once I took away the numbing band-aid, I guess you'd call it, this consciousness, this abandonment fear came up, and I was like, whoa, what is this? And so I had to do all kinds of personal therapy, group therapy. I didn't want to drink at all. I had no desire. Once you waken out of the alcohol matrix, which is the collective illusion that alcohol does not benefit us in any way. That then once you wake up from that whole consciousness that it benefits you, then you're cured. And so at this point, I was cured, and I was like, "There's no way I'm going to go and mask this pain again." But it was massive pain, and the most pain I've ever been through. I've been through tons of physical sports pain, uh, you know, like crazy. And this psychological pain went on for probably a year of me doing major personal development, spiritual retreats in Cambodia for 6 weeks. I mean, meditation, 2 hours a day of meditation, 2 hours a day of yoga, spiritual workshops, you name it, to cure myself from the abandonment and the not having that love that whenever I was a child that I needed. So, but now I did it. I'm through, and there's joy. As you can see in my sweater, I got I don't know, this will be a lot of people be listening, but I got a crazy sweater on here, and it is like Christmas time, and my girls are 9 and 10, and we are in full joy mode. And then they got me this one to remind me of what I was like whenever I drank alcohol. And a lot of people can't say, but it's the Grinch. It's a big Grinch sweatshirt. So they're dressing me up, and we're enjoying it.
Congratulations! It's amazing that you've had that big of a turnaround, and from my own experience, it just keeps getting better and better, like compound interest every year. It's like the longer you go without drinking, the better you feel. I'm curious. You mentioned it. You did a considerable research about alcohol, probably well before you did research for the book that you've got that's been published. What were some of the more interesting, surprising facts about alcohol that you unearthed in your research?
Yeah, so I've done a ton of research in my life, and it's all, I have a doctorate in psychology, and I just remember, in undergrad and grad, even like rats everywhere. I had to study rats all the time. It's really weird that rats, the way they look and everything, you wouldn't think they had much to do with humans, but our biological structure and DNA and everything is very extremely similar to rats. And so that's why that's our tests that we do, like perfumes and everything on rats. And probably the most significant fact about this research that I did that was like, oh man, is that whenever they did study on alcohol in rats. And so when they took all the rats and they said, okay, let's force feed them. First of all, rats will not touch ethanol, alcohol. That you had to force feed them, and don't confuse like whiskey, rum, and all. They didn't feed them that. They're feeding them water with ethanol. So it's not. So they go up to it and they're like, absolutely not. We're not touching that. Which any human would also be like that. Be like, what is this? Is poison immediately. However, with the sugars, the barley, the grape, and all the stuff that the alcohol, big alcohol industries are incredible at masking the toxic poison. So if we went back to the days of where it was just a slop, thousands of years ago, this ooey gooey ethanol fruit slop, we would not drink nearly as much of it. It would be like for pain, get your leg cut off on the field of battle, that kind of thing. It would not be like every night, hey, let's do this. We're having a social event and all this stuff. So they had to force feed all the rats the alcohol, and rats will literally eat their own shit. And I'm an Oklahoma farm boy, but they won't touch alcohol. Okay, so that's number one. So they're smarter than us. Well, we're smart too, but we've just masked the taste of it so much. So then once they did, with them, they wouldn't. Sorry, I like confused here. They wouldn't touch it, and then after they all got addicted. Thank you. That was it. 100% of them got addicted, and they wouldn't have. They chose alcohol over sex and food once they did. So 100% across the board, and we're talking about hundreds of thousands of rats, and 100% addicted. So it's just one of those things. And yes, some of them started getting addicted earlier than others. And so it's just like humans, the same thing. So that's probably one of the biggest fact that really opened my eyes to what this stuff we call alcohol is. And there's lots more, but I'll roll with that one for now.
And you said that alcohol companies mask the taste with sugars and grapes and barley. Can you just elaborate a little bit more on that? Like if we think about today's drinks, we've got beer, we've got bourbon, we've got vodka, we've got white wine, we've got red wine. They're all usually the most popular drinks. So what are the companies actually doing to make that seem so enticing?
Yeah, so thousands of years ago, like I was saying, it was a slop that they had to have, like, just chug it, kind of like a paste kind of stuff. And if you look at the history of alcohol, it's become this distilled, pure type thing. And then they mask it completely. And like, if you have a pina colada, people are like, and that's their first drink. They're like, oh, I like alcohol. Like, wait, you're not drinking alcohol. That is what you're drinking, like so much sugar. There's like 1,000 calories in a pina colada, and that is just tons of cream and sugar. And yes, I love pina coladas too. Who doesn't, right? Because it's like a donut in a cup. So now they have it where it's become such a huge industry with billions and billions of dollars that we're able to make these beers that are, grapefruit mango IPAs, and they're literally 7% alcohol, and you can't taste it. And you're like, what the heck? How is this? If you look at a can, and you're like 7% ethanol in there, it's a lot. It's not anything. I mean, that's a lot. If you put any kind of other substance, you'd be like, okay, that's a lot of that, whatever that is, right? So 93% of the rest of it is flavoring, sugars, and other ingredients. So it's one of those things where, we've got to really watch out for what the big alcohol companies are doing and saying, because they're using our bodies and minds and wallets for their wallets, and you just got to see through their lies. It's some of the advertising that has come up recently has really been absolutely outrageous with the Olympics were on recently, and they had an Olympic swimmer, and he was sitting around a campfire, and the Modelo is talking about how he was a cancer survivor, and now he's an Olympic swimmer and all this stuff, and so he had the fighting spirit. Well, and then it shows him about to drink a glass of ethanol, their Modelo beer with 5% ethanol in it that is proven to cause cancer. And they know, and all these big alcohol companies know that this is coming, and we're coming. The alcohol-free revolution is coming. So for them to do that at this point, with all of the studies and everything out there about alcohol and cancer, and how the American Society Cancer Association has said that there's the top three causes of cancer are smoking, so tobacco, overweight, obesity, and third is alcohol consumption. And you're sitting there as Modelo putting on these advertisements that you got the fighting spirit to drink, and you're drinking your cancer causing liquid. It's just stuff like that is out there that drives me crazy. So I hope that answers that. And I kind of got on a little different tangent, but there you go.
I one of the things that's never really sat well with me has been these Hollywood celebrities who all have their own alcohol brands. Now, I used to be a Hollywood celebrity interviewer back in another life in the mid to late 2000s. I lived in Hollywood, California, and I'd often go to the Four Seasons Hotel in Beverly Hills and interview movie stars. And I got to interview The Rock, Dwayne Johnson. I got to interview Ryan Reynolds. That was a little bit later on. And you know what? I like The Rock and I like Ryan Reynolds. These are two big actors, right? And The Rock does a lot of great things, helps people. So does Ryan Reynolds. And they both own liquor companies. So The Rock has a tequila brand and Ryan Reynolds has a gin brand called Aviation Gin. It's funny because I've been watching this Netflix TV series, Welcome to Wrexham, which is all about Ryan Reynolds and Rob McElvaney, his business partner, buying this kind of Welsh soccer team club and taking it from the lowest division and moving it up a division. And Aviation Gin, which is Ryan Reynolds' gin company, is featured throughout this series. And, they're all laughing and smiling with this gin. And The Rock, who does a great job at promoting health and fitness because he's very big and strong, and he's done a lot of good in the world, and he's a role model. He does all these Instagram posts with him and his tequila, and I just can't reconcile that in my own mind, because I'm like, here are these guys who are seemingly great guys doing great things in the world, and then they go and encourage people to buy attractively packaged poison. And in many cases, let's say, like you said, alcohol is the third highest cause of cancer. So why are they promoting a product? Now, in their defense, they might say, well, I'm not promoting that you drink that much of it. I'm just promoting it's like here on occasion. But like, on occasion causes problems. Right? On occasion is the gateway to lifelong consumption, which causes massive problems. So why are these seemingly great men in many areas of their life doing this great disservice, in my view, to society and promoting these liquor brands? What are your thoughts or feelings on this?
Yeah, it's funny. Part of my awakening, I had a dream, and in the dream, I am laying on a gurney, a hospital gurney, and there's a room around me with tons of other people on gurneys like me, and we're all hooked up to tubes, and there's this liquid that's pumping into us, and it's just a field of, it's like the Matrix, and this is where the alcohol matrix that I talk about comes from, is this dream. And I am looking around, and there's the Guinness toucan that is sitting there and like offering me a Guinness. They're the Budweiser Frogs, the Coors Light Bikini Girls, George Clooney with his Casamigos tequila, a French Bordeaux, offering the wine with the white towel, and some big alcohol marketing guys. And I'm sitting there and I'm kind of waking up, and George is like, "Uh-oh, Dustin's waking up. We got to give him more. Let's give him some more." And I'm like, "No!" And I'm yelling and I'm screaming and I'm ripping tubes off of me. And I stand up on the gurney and I'm like, "Get the hell away from me!" And I wake up out of that dream and I'm like, "Oh man, I've been being used. I've been totally unconscious, and now I'm awake and seeing this like you are, and having a difficult time with people who are, yeah, benefiting from others' bodies and minds." And the only thing that I can sit there and say is I was once asleep in the alcohol matrix as well. I do believe that the majority of people that, whenever we have up to 86% of adults who drink, have that belief that alcohol benefits them in some way. And so you're going to have, I do think there's a lot of stars and people who don't say, they say, I don't want to offer, I've got children. I don't want to be seen promoting beer and things like that. So we never hear about that as well. Right. But when we do see it, and George Clooney's making billions of dollars off of an addictive substance that, yeah, causes absolute carnage. But if I was still in that consciousness that I was just over on 4 years ago, and somebody came to me and they said, "Hey, we can do a alcohol brand, beer brand, whatever, if you'll be part of it, and it will give you this much money. You can take the money and do charity," these kinds of things. So for me to sit there and judge where they are and what they're doing in their life is one of those things where I was in it just as much as they were. And so I do hope and pray that they wake up out of that consciousness that they're in, that alcohol benefits them, and that they're offering something that is fun for people to do, with celebrations and things like that. Because I do think that's in their head, that just like it was for me. I'm bringing a bunch of nice wine to the wedding, to the parties, and I'm in that, right? I'm thinking I'm being fun, and I'm being offering something that's beneficial. Now I'm like, oh God, like what was I doing? I was spending all this money and bringing this poison into this event and getting the wedding people, drunk where they don't even remember the greatest night of their life because they got them so drunk, like, oh, sorry, and you just don't know. So it's one of those things where I have compassion and just try to non-judgmental kind of thing, and just hope that with what we're doing now, you and I, that they hear stuff like this and they're like, wait a minute, there is this really other way to be alcohol free and have real joy. And that's what I am all about. Is that the joy that I experienced when I was drinking? It was this blah, kind of grinchy, kind of not really big, joy. Now, oh man, this spiritual stuff that consciousness is just pouring through me is like that real pure love and joy and peace that you get up into these. I studied, my doctorate was in consciousness studies, and I didn't study the bad parts of human beings, and I studied the high end, like shamans, mystics, saints, Buddhist monks. And I was always like, man, how do they get to that point of that joy that they keep talking about? What is that? And that present moment, eternal peace that they experience. I'm like, is it real? Is it only for just a few individuals? And sure enough, once I started really doing personal development and staying alcohol free, that stuff started coming in, and that joy and that peace, that mystical union with that higher power, you're like, oh, there it is. And I was dumbing it and numbing it all down with ethanol. And so now that that's away, it's just bubbling up. And like you say, every year that you're alcohol free, it gets better.
You mentioned that you feel like AA has had a monopoly on being the only option for battling alcohol addiction, and you said that there's another way, or there's other ways. So let me ask you, what's your view on AA and your research? What have you found about its success rate or otherwise? And then maybe pivot to what are some other ways to effectively beat alcohol addiction.
Yeah, so first I just want to say that AA, 1935 is when AA started. And so they did the best they could with what they had at the time. And they had full 100% intentions, just like I do now, with helping others overcome alcohol addiction. And they helped my grandfather, they helped my brother, they helped a cousin of mine. I know tons of AA people, and I just have nothing but total respect and love for those people. And on that note, though, it's time for AA to evolve or dissolve, because what is happening is it's called the defective theory. And in 1935, all medical viewpoints were you're basically like a car. Your body's like a car. Comes in, something's wrong with it. Let's take it out, repair it, and do it. So guess what? What medical procedure started in 1935 as well? The lobotomy, the lovely lobotomy. Let's drill a hole in their head when they have mental illness and try to pull out a piece of their brain to cure them. So that sets up the zeitgeist of when AA started, right? Is this they looked around and they were like, okay, alcohol, why is it? Does it seem like some people can handle their alcohol and some people can't? And so Bill Wilson, Dr. Silkworth, and Dr. Bob got together and they said, oh, there's got to be some sort of allergy, addictive personality, stuff like that. So how do we say that these people, this class of people is not able to do this? And they are in effect defective, right? There's something wrong with them where everybody else can go and enjoy alcohol and have fun and no problems, right? So this was their viewpoint. And so they started this allergy. They said there's an allergy that some people have to alcohol. And this is a phantom allergy. It has absolutely zero scientific base evidence. It doesn't exist. And the problem is with AA, they look at the person as the problem, right? You are the issue. Whereas any other drug in the world that's addictive, we sit there and go, you're taking an addictive substance. You're going to get addicted. Stop taking an addictive substance. It's not you, it's this substance. Get it away from you and stop it. Now, that being said, there's personal development stuff, obviously, that most of us need to work on and do and be confident when we go to social parties and things like that, to be able to handle ourselves and not need to numb our consciousness down in order to be social and have fun and talk to others and not have anxiety because we're insecure and things like that. So they basically, that is the gist of AA for me. And the ratings, like you were talking about, they have in insurance business, they have ratings that they go by. And so they're as high as 40% success rate for AA, all the way down to 4% based on different studies, who you talk to, all this stuff. My point is, when you go to AA, you are at rock bottom. You are going in there and you are saying, I'm done. I need absolute help. I'm willing to say whatever it takes for me to get out of this hell that I'm in. And we're talking about the severest of severe stuff. And so they want you to go in there and be like, I am defective. I am the problem. I am an alcoholic. I have a disease. I have an allergy. This is my issue. And so what that does is takes the power away from the individual and says that alcohol has power over me because I can't drink it. Whereas the other way that has much bigger success rates, like your program, the Alcohol Free Revolution, Annie Grace's Naked Mind, get up into the 90%, 9 out of 10, and that versus a 40% that people that came there to AA at their rock bottom. So it's 4 out of 10 is a very low. Even I'm giving AA the most credit we can give them, and that's the highest study there is, right? And most people would agree that's about 8 or 9%. So let's take 40% though. You have 6 out of 10 people that are back out and addicts and dying and everything from alcohol, where it's like, wait a minute, what is going on here? And why is this happening? And they're doing that willpower method, white knuckling, like, I am the problem, I am the issue, I don't have power over alcohol. Oh no, I've got to crave it for the rest of my life. I can't be around it. I can't go to social events. It's there. And everybody's watching out for him. Oh no, all this stuff. You can't drink. Versus, I am timeless. I am powerful. I am so much more than any addiction. I am so much more than any mental health issue, any ethanol substance that has no power over me. Now, whenever I see it, and whenever my people who I counsel and coach and everything, they go through, they see alcohol as for what it is, disgusting, just like cigarettes. It's the same thing for a cigarette smoker who quit a long time ago. They're like, oh my gosh, why did I ever pay so much money for it? Why did I ever do that stuff and hurt myself? And it was all about looking cool, thinking it was okay. They, said there was, they even big tobacco at the time said it was healthy for you, the right thing to do. It relaxed you. And, it's the same thing that's happening now with big alcohol, is they're coming out with all these ads saying how healthy and good it is for us, and you have more fun, more sex, and a better life. And it's just the opposite. And your real joy is inside of you. We don't need to go down to an ethanol bottle to do that. And so for AA, yeah, those numbers, but compassion for, where they started and what they are. But now, yeah, it's time to hand the stick and run us run with it as the alcohol-free revolution, and take what they have and then build on it, and not discredit, but to say, okay, now the science is out. Look through the microscope and see that 100% of people will get addicted if enough alcohol is consumed. That is the point. Alcohol is the problem, not the person.
Mm. Look, you're being very generous and nice towards AA, and that's very considerate of you. And I'll tell you, I think probably 9 times out of 10, I express my feelings are about AA in exactly in a similar way to what you just did. I'm very supportive of their mission. They've absolutely helped tens of millions of people since 1935. But I also know that they have not helped hundreds of millions of people since 1935 who've attempted it. And so that's the nicest thing I can say, I think, or the most neutral thing I can say. Now, I say that through a very neutral tonality, and I say, look, no question they've helped tens of millions of people, but statistically speaking, it hasn't worked for hundreds of millions of people. And I say that on social media, and I get absolutely smashed by AA defenders. And part of the big book, which is the book of AA, says we have stopped fighting everything and everyone. We don't comment on other stop drinking modalities. We just let go of that stuff. And yet the people who abuse me are always people who are in AA. Always. Always. I should be ashamed of myself. I'm a snake oil salesman. I can't believe you charge people money to stop drinking. AA is free. You should be ashamed of yourself. I'm reporting you to Mater. I don't know. It goes on and on and on and on. So the 10% of me, which isn't so empathetic, is AA is completely statistically ineffective for most people, and many of its most fierce defenders say absolutely horrendous, horrible things to those like myself, trying to support other people, trying to support people in, using modalities that I feel, statistically speaking, are far superior. In fact, I'll just use this opportunity to just share that just last week, actually, the University of Washington finally came out with their results of their scientific study of our 90-day stop drinking process, which is called Project 90. And I'll just read from it. This is just to give you an idea. It says, Participants in the Project 90 program participation group reported an average of just 0.03 alcoholic drinks per day, in contrast to the waitlist control group's average of 1.52 drinks per day. In other words, drinking was 98% less for those who were participating in the Project 90 program than in those in the waitlist control group. Furthermore, the Project 90 program participation group reported drinking on only 3% of the study days, compared to 48% in the waitlist control group. Now, I could go on and on and on. Anyway, the point here is not self-promotion and just to say, wow, our process is so good. The point is that our process, presumably your process, and probably 20 other processes, are statistically far superior to AA's best, most reputable success rate claim, which I would say is ridiculous. 40% is not true at all, cannot be. Preposterous is what I would submit. Most studies I've seen probably put it around 7%. Anyway, the point is that there are so many other ways of stopping drinking that are better and more effective than this ridiculous notion that AA is the only way. There you go. That wasn't as nice, but it was all right, I hope.
No, that's beautiful. And it is beautiful because all we're doing is helping other people. And my thing is, there's 8 billion people out there, and whenever you got a huge majority of adults who are drinking, to have different places for them to go is massive. If you want to try an AA meeting, have at it. Go check it out. I tried it. I tried it myself, and I got online because I was like, let's see, what it's all about. They kept putting the camera on me and trying to get me to say, I am an alcoholic. Hi, my name's Dustin. I'm an alcoholic. The whole time I was inside screaming. I would just look at the camera. I am not an alcoholic. I was addicted to alcohol, and now I am not. Just like a smoker used to be addicted to cigarettes and quit and now thinks they're disgusting. I used to drink alcohol and now quit and think it's disgusting. It causes so much damage. And I literally, when I see alcohol, I don't care if it's Camus, beautiful wines, all this stuff, I get a little bit ill if I think about drinking it. I'll look at it and I'll be like, wow, there's 13% ethanol in that glass that somebody's taking. I'll watch them drink it. I'm like, oh, it like gives me pain to watch them drink it because I just see it going through their veins and causing havoc. I see like cancer cells having a swim party, going, yeah, let's go. It's here, let's ignite. And so, yeah, I mean, you're right. I am, when I say 40%, what I'm saying is I'm giving them the most credit possible of all the studies that I've seen. Now, the majority of studies are around, like you're saying, 7 to 9%. But that one, I just want to give them the most credit and start from there and say, you're still failing 60% of the time. The majority of the people who come to you are leaving, nothing has happened at all. And you basically told them that they are the problem instead of, and that's feeding into the alcohol matrix belief that alcohol benefits us in some way. That they're saying, oh, well, everybody else who's normal, quote unquote, can handle their alcohol, the 90% or whatever. So you aren't. And so the alcohol is a good thing if you can handle it. That is a complete bad leading in. And then that's that old archaic 1935 consciousness that we've got to get away from, that we have to evolve out of. And what your program does, from what I've seen, is changes consciousness. Until the consciousness is changed from alcohol is a good thing that helps me, go out and be funny, get laid, meet girls, all these things, to alcohol hurts me in every way. It hurts my financials. It hurts my relationships. It hurts me even with sex. You guys, impotence, alcohol and impotence. I mean, we could go on and on for that. Like, the leading cause of impotence. So once I started, that was the other thing for me, man. Once I got off alcohol and my sex was just, whoa, wow. I felt everything so much more, because whenever alcohol touches something, it numbs it down. So whenever you have a numb willy, what do you guys say in Australia? Go with that. It's numb and it's not going to have the fierce, strong erection, and you've got to understand that your entire body is affected by ethanol. So that's the big difference in your program, Alcohol Free Revolution, and the whole consciousness shift that I'm talking about, the evolution of AA. So yeah,
Yeah.
but I was being with 40%. I agree. I'm being as generous as I can be.
Mm.
So if you really held me to the fire, I would say I would give them 10%. Let's say that. So 9 out of 10 people that go to AA are walking out of there.
Yeah. Yeah, with it not having worked is ineffective. And yet there's still one argument to that, which is, well, for the people that take it seriously, then it works for them. I'm like, yeah, but that's the problem. The problem is that you can't get people to take it seriously. That's it. The whole challenge is not whether people do the work or not, because they keep saying, if you do the work, you'll get the result. I'm like, well, that's great, but surely the failure of your organization, or the ineffectiveness of your organization is probably a better way of saying it, is because you can't inspire people to actually do the work. That's the challenge. It's like, it's all well and good to say, well, if you show up and if you do the work, you'll get the result. But you're not getting people to do that. Nobody wants to go to an AA meeting. Who here wants to go to an AA meeting? Nobody. Well, there you go. There's your problem. That's why AA is ineffective. Anyway, let's move off that. Tell us a little bit more about what a reader can expect in your book. You're doing great, and other lies alcohol told me, as we head for home here.
Yeah. So to kind of go off of the AA thing too, is it's fun. The Alcohol Free Revolution is fun. My book is fun. And I know that your program is fun. At the end of the program, you have more fun than you did whenever you started it. Whereas in AA, it's basically saying you got to white knuckle this and you got to crave this for the rest of your life because you have no power over this substance. With my book, my program, and then an Alcohol Free Revolution, you have 100% complete power. You are the most powerful thing in the world. We're not afraid of what we can't do. We're afraid of what we can do as humans. And that is the difference in your program, mine, and what this new alcohol-free revolution is all about is having fun and being joyous without alcohol. And I'm talking, like I was saying, I'm talking about that high saint, mystic, Buddha monk joy that you're walking around just kind of giggling, grinning at life, and you're in this consciousness that the universe is like beautiful. And you go to parties, you go to bars, you go to anywhere you want to, and alcohol has zero power over you. You don't crave it at all. You think it's disgusting. You just as soon start inhaling cigarettes as you would start drinking any kind of alcohol. So that's what I like to take home, is that we're gonna have fun with this, and the meetings, the Alcohol Free Revolution meetings. Whenever you go to wearetheafr.org, we have really a good time, and it's called High Consciousness Training. Those are the meetings. So we're in this high consciousness world, and we're teaching people way more, all kinds of stuff about relationships, how to communicate, how to meditate, and just be athletically, out there doing fun stuff and getting together. So very different approach than sitting in those AA meetings and thinking that we're defective and we have no power over alcohol and woe is me and we're victims. This is not victim consciousness. This is, I am 100% responsible for my actions. Am I going to react out of fear, or am I going to react out of love?
Mm. Amazing. I love it. Well, Dustin, thank you so much. Appreciate you sharing your time with our listeners here. The name of Dustin's book is You're Doing Great, and Other Lies Alcohol Told Me. The author's name is Dustin Dunbar. Where can our listeners purchase that book, Dustin?
Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much for having me on. The God in me honors, recognizes, and loves the God in you. You can find me at dustin-dunbar.com is where the book purchase is. And then we are the AFR.org is the website. And then the Instagram, if you guys want to follow what I'm doing on there, I have a lot of fun doing some crazy stuff on there, is Dustin Dunbar AFG. That's Alcohol Free Guru AFG, Dustin Dunbar AFG. But thank you so much, James. I really love talking to you.
No worries, Dustin. Thanks for being here, and thank you to the listener for listening, and we'll catch you on the next one.